On deck with evil dead chick. What's in store when you open the door? Step inside, my little ones. Bring your flashlight and good luck charms. Oh, and good luck charms. Oh. Might get dark. It might get scary. Maybe even a little insane. Crawl out from under the bed. Don't be afraid. Evil Dead Chick is here to entertain and thrill. Dead Eyes on deck with Evil Dead Chick. Let's hang out till the sun comes up.
All messed up.
Howdy, gang, and welcome to an all new edition of They're All Messed Up. And we're going to get to these movies um, here in just a little bit. I forgot to get one of my images. So you're going to see that flash up on the screen. Sorry about that. We'll bring that up a little bit later. But something I wanted to speak on, and I'm sure everybody else is aware of it, and I wasn't. Steve said he knew about it, but I wanted to, even though it was very sad news about an actor that I have respected and watched in several films. Batman let me know about it. And Steve said, "Well, I knew about it." And I said, "Well, why didn't you say anything?" Because sometimes I'm behind on these things. But unfortunately, for those of you that haven't heard, Michael Madsen passed away. Steve said he had a heart attack. At 67 years old, folks, I mean, that's way too young to be passing away. And a lot of us movie fans, because he wasn't just in one type of movie. Michael Madsen, like the title of the article, one of the articles that mentioned his death, said he had pretty much made a career out of playing tough guys. And he was excellent at that. And he will be sadly missed. I had seen Michael Madsen around conventions over the years, and I wish now, here's one of those regrets again. I wish now that I'd went up and met him. I'd seen him around in the halls at conventions. I'd seen him at his table, but it's like me and Chris have talked about before, and me and other people talked about before, that you always think there's going to be a next time to get to meet somebody. And sometimes you get a next time. Many times you do get a next time, but sometimes you don't. So I'm going to tip my hat to you, Mr. Matson. You were one of the greats. Um, you're going to be missed, sir. And I'm probably going to watch Reservoir Dogs or something tonight in honor of Michael Madsen. So, um, but moving on, I'll get some housekeeping stuff out of the way, and then we will get to talking about these couple of movies here, and you will figure out why I'm chuckling, especially if you've not seen either one of these movies. Um, be sure to head on over to deaditesondeck.com, my horror shop. Tell them Poe sent you. Poe is, of course, the official mascot of the Deadites on Deck horror shop. Now, just because it's a horror shop does not mean I don't do custom work. I do custom work, folks. There's a handy dandy form on the homepage of the shop. All you got to do is fill that out and let me know what it is you so desire. Um, if you're a horror fan and you get on there and don't find a design that you like, you can also suggest something to me. I'm willing to do just about any type of design as long as it's legal, and put it on a shirt, a hat, a tote bag, a mouse pad. I also have candles and blended teas on the site. Booga Booga Bears, the Pyro plushies are soon going to be making their way to the site. Um, with the first Pyro plushie being Poe. So I've got a lot of things in the works. It's just that my lazy butt hasn't gotten gear and actually um, put a lot of this stuff on the site. But I urge you to hop on over again to deaditesondeck.com and check out what I do have to offer. And do keep in mind that I do custom work as well. I did not get to do cannon fodder last night. I do apologize. I was running behind. And then rather than try to scramble and have a super late cannon fodder, I just decided to reschedule it. I did get the first movie watched. I just have to watch the other one before I discuss these films with you guys and gals. Tomorrow night will be another Evil Dead Chicks Slasher Fest starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And we will be watching together Sleepaway Camp 2 and Sleepaway Camp 3 amid the barrage. It's going to sound like a war zone, I'm sure, during at least some parts of Evil Dead Chick Slasher Fest. And I'll probably be hopping around like this. So y'all just please excuse me. I'm not scared of fireworks, but loud noises do make me jump. Thunder and loud booms that go along with the fireworks. Because the thing is, you never know when they're going to boom, right? And not everybody around here. I was talking to Steve, and I'm not trying to rain on anybody's parade or anything, but it's my thinking that, if you live in a neighborhood where there's house, all down the street, that you should not be setting off fireworks that's like long range, because every year parts of fireworks get on people's rooftops and they're all out in the road and everything else. All it would take is one spark, people, to light somebody's house on fire. And I just don't think that the big long range fireworks should be allowed in neighborhoods. That's just, my thoughts on it. And I think you should be fined if you're caught setting these big ones on. Now, people can get pissed off at me if they want to. It's just maybe I'm an old fogey in my older age. But, I don't want to see anybody's house get burned down. Also, I think it's disrespectful to let off big fireworks all night long until up in the morning when people, some people have to go to work the next day. They may be off on the 4th, but, they need to get some sleep. People have babies, people have pets that are scared by these. I mean, my babies, my fur babies, they're just terrified of them. And so, um, all I'm saying is people should just think a little bit, have your fun. But I think the long range large fireworks should be for specified events. People should not be allowed to buy the type of stuff that I would have went to Basswood Park when I was a kid. And you might be saying, what the hell is Basswood Park? It was a park where there was a lake and all that. And me and Steve were talking about that. He said, yeah, they used to set them off near a lake and stuff. Yeah, and guess what? They don't, they would go back in the lake. That's not very good for the lake, but they're not, potentially going on somebody's house and catching fire. Or, and it's a specified event. There are safety precautions in place, hopefully. And, there are a lot of, events where large fireworks are set off. And if you want to set off some small ones and let the kids have sparklers and stuff in your backyard, I think that's perfectly fine. But you don't need to have a hundreds of dollars, maybe thousands of dollars fireworks show in your backyard. I mean, you just don't. But anyway, I'll get off my soapbox about that. But we are going to be having Evil Dead Chicks Slasher Fest, and I'm going to be talking about Sleepaway Camp, or we're going to be watching Sleepaway Camp 2 and Sleepaway Camp 3, folks, and having our popcorn and our Coke or your beverage of choice or whatever nachos, whatever you want when you go to the movies, okay? Um, let's see. No watch alongs this weekend, but the voting is still open for the following weekend. And I just want to remind everybody that I have made the decision, since these Sunday watch alongs don't seem to be popular right now, but the Saturday ones do for the most part. I'm going to cut them down to, I'm only having them every other week or every other weekend. And they're still going to be on Saturdays every other weekend. But unless something changes and people start asking me, hey, Dana, why aren't you doing the Sunday ones anymore? And people are actually showing interest in coming, then that's probably how I'm going to keep it. So just wanted to get that out there. And hopefully this coming week, I'll be able to do more Dick's Picks. We're about to wind down the Dick's Picks. And then it'd be time to move on to something else after that. Hopefully there'll be more cannon fodder, the rescheduled cannon fodder, more they're all messed up. And who knows, me and Candace might throw in there a Friday Foolish in there somewhere. So, well, on Friday, of course. So, with all that being said, I did remember, because this isn't a live stream, movie roulette is in full effect. And I just did a recent movie roulette for What We Do in the Shadows and Missing from 2023. Those were Menelek's picks. He gave a very generous super chat for both of those films. So, again, thank you, sir, for that. If you haven't checked out Movie Roulette yet, be sure to check that out. But you can play tonight. You can play during Evil Dead Chicks Slasher Fest. You can play it during watch alongs. Any live stream I do, if you give a $5 or more super chat, you can pick any movie of your choosing for me to watch and do a review of. And even if several people do it, you will still get to hear me talk about your movie on an upcoming episode of Movie Roulette. Okay. Now, with all that being said, let's go ahead and get to these films, folks. Um, so I have a VHS of this, but that's the only thing I have of it. And I thought, well, I'll just show a poster or something for this particular film. So, of course, we're going to be talking about I Dismember Mama, but folks, I'm going to be totally upfront with you guys and gals. There is no dismembering taking place in this film. It would have been a better film if Mama or somebody was dismembered, because that's a very misleading title. It also says the most shattering nightmare of all. Um, but it's good marketing, folks. I mean, it's just it's good marketing. It's misleading, and really, I think it's wrong. But somebody was doing something right when they created the title. I Dismember Mama, because I thought, oh my, when I first, I think I got this. I won it off of an auction. They say you win it. Well, you kind of do, but you still got to pay for it, right? So it's not actually you win it, right? You win the right to purchase it for whatever price you bid on it. But so I Dismember Mama is also under the title Poor Albert. I think it's Poor Albert and Little Annie or something like that. And Albert, I believe, played by Zoe Hall. I don't know what else he's been in or anything like that. So you would have to look that up yourself. But whenever I read about this movie many moons ago, I thought I thought the title sounded cool. I thought, the description sounded pretty cool. But I'm reminded of A Bell from Hell, which was another movie that, although it had, more slashing and stuff like that than I Dismember Mama, it talked about a guy pulling somebody's eyeballs out. Okay, number one, in A Bell from Hell, he doesn't pull anybody's eyeballs out. He makes it look like he pulls his own out and tries to gross out his cousins or whatever they are in the film. So, you can't really fault people for having misleading things because they're trying to sell product, right? So I understand, but I hope that nobody spent a lot of money on I Dismember Mama. I really don't. But we're going to get to what I Dismember Mama's about here in just a second. But it came out in 1972, directed by Paul Letter. We have a total of 4 deaths, and none of them are really spectacular, folks. None of them. So we got a man that has his throat slit, a woman stabbed to death, a woman strangled, and at the end, a man falls out a window. And that's it, folks. That is it for deaths. Pretty standard deaths for a movie that has the title I Dismember Mama. And so this is also a very bizarre and almost borders on, areas we don't want to delve into, because we have Albert, who's in can't really say a mental hospital. He's in a mental health facility because he tried to stab his mother. Again, no dismemberment, folks. No dismemberment at all. He doesn't dismember anybody in this movie. But he tried to stab his mother. So she She knew this doctor and she knew he had a clinic. So rather than him having to go to the state mental hospital, she sends him to her doctor friend and says, fix him, basically. Um, so apparently he's been there. Albert's been there a while. And the doctors come to the conclusion that he can't help him because one of the first scenes we see in the film is a nurse coming and taking his movies away. And he has like a reel to reel projector that he's watching these movies on. Keep in mind, folks, it's 1972, not the age of VCRs or anything like that. Had this been remade in the VHS boom, then we may have seen him watching things on a VCR. But he's got a reel to reel projector. I guess, a 35 millimeter projector, and he's watching these films. And I'm not sure. I got a pretty good idea what types of films he's watching. Probably women being killed or being assaulted. And the nurse comes in and she makes a mistake of taking Albert's movies away. She said, the doctor doesn't want you to watch these things because they upset you. And Albert doesn't like having his movies taken away, so he attacks the nurse, rips her clothes halfway off, and takes his shirt and tries to wrap it around her throat and strangle her. So he's in the process of trying to strangle her. He doesn't do it. A couple of orderlies come in and pull him off of the nurse and take him away. And then we see the doctor talking to Albert, and the doctor says, Albert, you hurt that nurse very badly. And, basically, what are we going to do with you? I've tried everything, and one of the orderlies is already, hinting that they're going to send Albert away to the state mental hospital. And so Albert's pretty wily, folks. So he says to this orderly, would you like to watch one of the films that they don't want me watching? And of course, his eyes light up and he says, I'll let you do that if you let me escape or help me escape. Well, that's where one of the first deaths comes in. And I was like, that orderly, I was like, you dumbass. I mean, I knew exactly what was going to happen. And so that orderly is the first death. He's the guy that gets his throat slit. So Albert steals a car, makes his way back to his mama's home. But his mom's already left because the doctor's been alerted that Albert has escaped, and he takes Albert's mom away somewhere and hiding. But her, I guess, assistant or whatever, because she's this real rich lady with a big house. She has an assistant and a daughter who has an 11-year-old daughter, Annie, that's living there with her. Why they don't say anything to the assistant, I don't know, but it's a movie. Go figure, right? So Albert ends up attacking and killing the assistant, but then the 11-year-old daughter comes home, Annie. And this is where things get really weird and start bordering on areas we don't want to delve into, right? Because, even at one point, Albert, who's a grown man, screams that he loves Annie. He does this mock wedding where he puts a ring on her finger, and he's always, he doesn't kiss her on the mouth. He's kissing her on the cheeks and stuff. It's creepy and it's cringy and weird. And I remembered that from the first time I watched. I was like, what in the world? So this has more to do with weird, bizarre behavior than it does dismembering anybody. So, and I'm not saying anybody's wrong for watching it because it doesn't, it doesn't go to any areas. I've seen I've seen foreign movies that go into darker areas than this did, as far as young kids are concerned. I can't remember the name of the movie, but I think it was something about birds or something. And I don't know how they ended up making this film because this girl looked very, very young, underage, and she was completely naked in the presence of a man. And I know it was a movie, but it's just, I don't know, it's weird. So this movie did not go there, thank goodness. But it was still, like I said, cringy and um, just bizarre. And, that was unsettling. I rather would have seen dismemberment than his relationship with this young girl. So, um, yeah, I mean, again, nobody is a bad person for watching this. You wouldn't be a bad person if you liked it. It's just not my cup of tea. And not really a movie I would think of when I think of slasher movies, right? But, I'm having to go by pre-made lists, so some of these things, some of these movies, y'all might think, well, that's not a slasher movie, or why is Dana talking about this on there all messed up? Nothing really happens in it. And I get that. Some of these are going to be a little bit more visceral than others. But I don't really see myself going back and watching I Dismember Mama again. Um, unless it shows up on some other list that I'm doing. But let's go ahead and, give this sucker a rating, I guess. Which, Greg, I can't, I just can't rate it very, very high at all. Um, I'm going to at least give it 2 dead eyes out of 5. Um, for the sheer audacity of it, that somebody made this type of film, and that they were bold enough to call it I Dismember Mama and make it out to be, a blood fest, basically, um, when it is indeed not. Am I going to tell you not to watch it? No, heck no. If you want to check out I Dismember Mama, you go right ahead. Um, but you can watch it on Tubi, and you can watch it on Balsam. And those are at least a couple of places that you can watch it for free. All right. So the next one, and Steve said, why on earth, Dana, did you buy this movie? Why? Why, for the love of God, why'd you buy this movie and spend money on it? But I did get it from Severn when it came out on Blu-ray. And this is Invasion of the Blood Farmers. Now, gang, this is a bad movie. It's a bad movie. There's no two ways about it, right? But it's more entertaining than I Dismember Mama, and there's a lot more blood and all that stuff. I don't think anybody gets pitchfork like this. This picture is fantastic on here. Whoever did the marketing for Invasion of the Blood Farmers knew what they were doing as well. But I will tell you that most of the deaths in this, there was a primary thing that was done, but basically what ultimately leads to people's deaths in Invasion of the Blood Farmers is that blood is literally drained from them. Okay, so this also came out in 1972, directed by Ed Adlam. And so we have a total of 7 deaths in this one. So we really upped the ante on deaths when you compare Invasion of the Blood Farmers with I Dismember Mama. So you have a man who literally kind of just blood explodes from him, right? And uh, he's the guy they refer to as Jim Carrey. And I thought that was the most hilarious thing ever because when I hear Jim Carrey, I automatically think of the actor Jim Carrey, and this guy looks nothing like the actor Jim Carrey. Um, he basically hemorrhages to death in front of everybody in the bar and just falls on the floor. There's a woman that has been kidnapped and then her blood is completely drained. A man is beaten and then he's drained of his blood. A, a woman is beaten and drained of blood. A man gets stabbed in the eye and then he's drained of blood. A woman's head slashed and then, you guessed it, drained of her blood. And a man is burned to death. He's the only one that, doesn't have his blood drained. So, what is this beautiful movie about? Well, it's about a druid cult who wants to bring back or resurrect their dead queen. So that, and you got these goofy ass looking dudes that are dressed like farmers. This is Invasion of the Blood Farmers, who are basically trying to get, blood from these townspeople, and they do something to it where it just keeps making more of it. You start with a small amount, and it's overflowing. And there's this doctor slash scientist who always says, "You got to get in here. You won't believe what's happening." And every time he says that, there's usually something spectacular happening with this blood, that it's getting ready to overflow out of a test tube or a beaker or whatever he has, right? There's one scene where a dog is appeared to be killed, but never fear, folks. Um, it's obviously fake, right? And it looks fake. And it looks like they, you know, if a rug had a head, which I guess like bear rugs do, if you cut the head off of it, that's what it looked like. The fur looked nothing like the dog that you saw running around earlier. So, if you're a dog lover like me, never fear, right? So, um, so let's talk about the people that made this film. So, in 1972, a team of New York exploitation outlaws that included Ed Adlam, who directed this. He also did Shriek of the Mutilated, Ed Kelleher, who did Primeval, and Michael and Roberta Finley, who did The Touch of Her Flesh and Snuff, among many others. Uh, Along with first time assistant cameraman and future award winning cinematographer Frederick Elms, who went on to do Eraserhead and Blue Velvet, two David Lynch films. They went to Westchester County with 8.5 bottles of stage blood to make a movie about a druid cult seeking to resurrect their dead queen. Their budget was $24,000. The cast was paid in beer, and the result remains one of the greatest achievements in shock cinema history. And Severin Films decided to put it out a few years back on Blu-ray, and of course, yours truly bought it, and her husband asked why. Why? But again, folks, I got to give this a higher rating than Dismember Mama. I'm going to give this one 4 Deadites out of 5 just because it's so goofy and so entertaining, and there's plenty of blood to go around, and I just enjoy it so much. Now, you can probably find this one on The Usual Suspects. I didn't have to go looking around for it very far because it was on my movie shelf. So But I would check your usual suspects like YouTube, Tubi, Fossum if you have that. By the way, Fossum is a free app that you can put on your smart TV or your tablet or whatever, um, and watch movies. Now, a lot of them are really bad movies. I've watched a lot of really bad movies of not very good quality, folks. But it is a resource that you can use to watch some of these films. So yeah, I would definitely recommend Invasion of the Blood Farms if you can find it for free copy to watch. I'm not telling you go to Severn or whatever and purchase a copy. No, don't do that unless you watch it for free and then you decide that it's something that, oh, I'm going to watch this multiple times, so I'm going to, purchase it. So I've been on here a total of 36 minutes and a handful of seconds. Um, but I hope that you guys and gals have been watching along, enjoyed me talking about these couple of films. The next couple of films I will be talking about are Death Walks at Midnight, uh, also from 1972, and My Dear Killer, also from 1972. So, I guess that is it for me. I also want to thank people that will watch this on the replay because here is of late, a lot of people watch the stuff on the replay that, I know our lives get busy and stuff. And sometimes you just don't have the time to watch all the things that you would like to watch on a live stream. However, that's the great thing about YouTube. Um, if I could say there's a great thing about YouTube. Um, is that you can watch them on the replay on my channel. So I want to thank everybody that will watch this on the replay. And that's it from me. As always, I'm off like a dirty shirt. This shirt ain't dirty, but I'm off like one. And I want to remind everybody, as I always do before I get off of here for the night, to be kind to one another and blaze that trail. Have a fantastic rest of your Thursday night, folks. I hope y'all have great plans for tomorrow, the 4th of July. I hope the majority of you guys and gals are off and can celebrate with family and friends and have cookouts and set off a few fireworks. Stay safe, folks. Like they told us at work, please come back with all 10 of your fingers and your thumbs. And yeah, just stay safe, have fun, but stay safe. And I'll see everybody next time.